Hello, all you wonderful people out in YouTube land, and welcome to the Dollar Store Pour. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's a beautiful day to paint, so let's go ahead and get right to it, shall we? Today I'm going to be doing a string pull, or I guess in this case I'm actually using yarn, but you get the idea. So first what I want to do is this is just white paint with a little bit of blue, just because I don't like it to be just white. It looks a little antiseptic. And I'm going to coat the entire canvas. I'll be swirling that around here in just a moment. And I want to make sure I get full coverage. And aside from white and just a touch of blue in here, the only other things I've added are the PVA glue and some water, which I've added a little more water than I might normally. I want it to be a little runnier, just because I want it, once I put the string on it, I want to be no resistance to it, ideally, for it to flow as easily as possible. All right, then I'll probably get some over here. Hopefully that's enough, because if not, well, I'm sure it'll be enough. I'm going to try not to use a brush just to move it around. So far so good. I think I stand corrected. Alright, well, got the little foam brush I used in the last painting. I'll just use that. Some stubborn spots here, but that's alright. As long as I get the full coverage. Alright. So I want to get the sides as well, of course. Can't forget those. Alright, I think that'll do it. Let's just swirl that around a tiny bit. Just want to even that paint out. I guess it's not even that important, really. It's definitely liquidy enough that it'll settle on all on its own anyway. And I missed a handful of spots on the side here. Alright, there we are. Right. Now, as I said, I'm going to be doing a string pull, and another, in my mind, a spring-themed string pull. Actually, I guess what I'm using, I don't know if you can see this, is yarn. Whatever you use. I made the mistake the first time I tried this. I used a jute, almost like a twine, and it was way too stiff, and the results were not good. And so I've got 4 different greens here. Well, okay, 3 greens and a turquoise. But I'm just going to randomly pour this into the plate. And again, with the green, same as the white, the only thing I've added is just the PVA and some water. And the reason for that is because in this case I'm not looking for any other effects. I'm not looking for any cells or anything of that nature. But I do want the paint to be fairly runny. That just will work better from my experience. And I'm going to add a few drops of yellow here and there, just for effect. And I'm just randomly layering on these various greens. turquoise seems a little runny. Seems like the turquoise always goes runny. I'm not sure why. I should really look into measuring when I do this. I just kind of go by how it looks. Sort of the consistency of a heavy cream. And when you're using this method, the string, well, whether you use string or yarn or what have you, as I said, you want something very soft and pliable. And you also, as far as cutting it, I mean, there's really no right or wrong, but you probably want it, because it loops back on itself and whatnot, you can really do it, you know, potentially 2 or 3 times, you know, the length of whatever you're using. In this case, it's a 12 by 16 canvas. And you're going to see what I mean in terms of looping back on itself and whatnot. Just another moment. Alright. Just a bit more yellow. And I've got a few, hopefully these aren't all tangled up, I've got a few different lengths of the yarn. Might as well start with a small one, why not? I did not measure these, I just sort of eyeballed it. And so you put it in, just make sure you get the full coverage. And so when I pull it out, it should be a nice variety of the greens. Might even get a tiny bit of that yellow. It's alright if I don't though. So there you can see I sort of did a couple loops. So that's what I meant by looping on itself. Well, I only did a couple in that case. I'll do more in the next one, because this is going to be a bigger piece of string, yarn rather, sorry. And again, you just want to make sure you get full coverage there. This one might be a little unruly, so I tend to grab it about halfway down. Just gently. I try not to knock any paint off. Oh, I got some spillage there, but that's alright, because I'll, well, that's alright. Okay. So you can see what I mean. We just sort of randomly, you know, loop it back on itself. Just going to do a few more here. What I might even do is, I still have a tiny bit of that white, so I can always touch that up if I want to just, once it dries a bit, just paint over it. I should be able to incorporate it though. I guess we'll see in a moment. Just going to let this one drip just a tiny bit. Try to prevent that same sort of thing from happening. But if it does, we'll find a way to make it work. Alright, that should probably catch that, and we'll do one more. See if I cut up a short one or not. I'll use a long one anyway. Get right to the top. It's all good. Just going to pour a little more and see if I can get a bit more yellow here. I really don't see it. I don't see it there at all. See if maybe that'll help. pour it directly onto the string itself, or the yarn rather. Ugh. And ideally you do want to let this sit on the canvas for a minute. So here we go with the final one. And again, I'm just holding it halfway just because in an attempt to gain a little control over it. Okay, and I tried to, excuse me, incorporate those drips, and we'll see how that turns out. But as I said, I still have a little bit of the white, and once that dries up, I can certainly cover that up so it's not as noticeable. So I think we'll start at the first one. I'm sure it's been sitting long enough. And what you do is just very slowly drag it. Alright, that's not bad at all. Kind of lost the stem at the bottom. To me it looks very, maybe not floral, but definitely like a plant. Which is why it puts me in the mind of spring. So let's go ahead and get the next one. And at the bottom, when it is exiting the canvas, I try to keep it as narrow as possible, just because I think that would look more like a plant with a narrow stem. I mean, as much as I can anyway. I've seen other people do this and they're far better at it than I am. But I do like how this looks, how it turns out. And I'm just kind of dropping the string, getting rid of it. Alright, let's go for the third one. And again, we're just looking for the same sort of thing, just sort of slowly pull it down the middle kind of thing. Looks like I may have used a bit too much white. Maybe I should have just painted on a thin layer rather than pouring on as much as I did. Oh well, live and learn. I certainly don't think this looks bad so far. I'm liking how this looks quite a bit. Alright. Yeah, that one turned out quite nice. And so let's go for the final one. And as with the others, where it exits the canvas at the bottom is where I pull it. I try to keep it just a thin contact there. And again, just slowly pulling that string. You can see that it straightens itself out. As I said before, I tried this with jute, and what happened was the string didn't straighten itself out. So as it dragged down the canvas, it was just kind of a mess. It didn't look floral. It didn't look like leaves or anything. It just looked like a mess. So you want a softer string or yarn or what have you. Well, I lost almost all the green in that one. Alright, you know what? I'm going to try another pass with that one because I kind of lost all the green. Maybe just put it right down the middle and see if I can pick up enough of the green. Alright. Yeah, well, look better for next time. I'll just paint a thin layer rather than dumping as much as I did. So let's carefully get this on there. Not going to worry as much about looping on itself. Let that sit for just a few seconds, and yeah, that might work. Well, it's a bit better. I can touch that up though. Alright, well the last one, well, it's going to need a little bit of work, to be honest with you. But looking at the first 3 string pulls, I really like how those turned out. Alright, and with this one, it's not like the other ones where if I had the dimethicone or silicone or alcohol or what have you, you know, cells aren't going to form, or at least, well, I mean, I suppose they might, but it's certainly not my intention. Excuse me. And so the way it is now is probably, you know, normally I would come back in about a half an hour or so and you'd see they look a little bit different because cells would have formed, whatnot. But I don't think that would be the case. From my experience, I've done this this sort of thing a few times. So that's actually going to do it for me today. I hope you liked what you saw. If you did, go ahead and throw a like my way. It would be greatly appreciated. Thank you again so much for watching. Don't forget to go ahead and subscribe. That way you'll be notified anytime I do a new painting. Feel free to leave a comment. And I will see you next time.